Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Mitch English. Hey, if you're recently divorced, or maybe you're currently going through a divorce, this holiday season can be really difficult, especially for your kids. Well, here to talk about some of the do's and the don'ts of divorce during the holidays is divorce attorney and author Jacqueline Newman. Hi, Jacqueline. Welcome to the
Hi, how are
show.
you?
We're doing
Thanks so much for having me.
We're really happy to have it because a lot of families, almost about 50% of marriages don't work out in divorce. A lot of them have kids. And the first holiday season after a divorce is really difficult for the adults. But of course, we got to make sure things are always about the kids. And you say you have 3 do's and don'ts. Let's start off with the don'ts. What are those 3 things we got to make sure we don't do?
So, one of the things you want to make sure of is you don't allow the divorce to ruin your holiday spirit.
Okay.
Look, it's tough. There's no question. However, just because you're going through this divorce, you're going through this very difficult time, you really want to still be able to enjoy the holidays, enjoy them with your family, with or without your children, and allow this to be something that you start new traditions on. I think that's a very, very important thing.
Well, I like that. You also say that sometimes if you go one way, you might recompensate and go the other way. Your second tip actually deals with that, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. You want to make sure that, you don't become if you're ultimately a religious person, and let's say you're Jewish, you don't want to now all of a sudden be celebrating Christmas and saying, I need this holiday, I need this holiday. If that's something that's really important for your spouse with their family, then you want to let your children be able to enjoy that.
And is that is that splurging on your kids and like over the top gifts and that sort of thing, or maybe outdoing the ex-spouse or?
Well, that absolutely happens. So yes, you want to make sure of the fact that you don't try to overcompensate for the fact that you're not necessarily with your spouse this season. I'm sorry, with your children this season. So a lot of times people will go and they'll buy out the toy store. You don't need to do that. Your children love you, and I suggest that you just kind of keep things in whatever tradition you have had with presents.
It makes a lot of sense, just keeping things as normal as possible because they're looking to you of how they're going to act later on in life, which actually brings us to our next tip that you have. Don't make your kids feel bad because you, the divorced parent, are alone. How do you not do that?
Yeah, no, that is really important. You want your children to have a nice holiday. And so when you ultimately are making your children feel badly for enjoying the holiday with their other parent, and you're sitting there and you're saying, oh, by myself. Don't worry though, go have fun with your father or your mother. That's not good. You want to let your kids have fun. You want them to know that you're okay and make other plans, hang out with your friends, do something else.
Would you say it's okay for the child to, let's say, maybe they make a suggestion, say, hey, I want to go to this parent's house instead of staying here. Do you allow them to do that? How much freedom do you give?
So it really depends on the children's age. Ultimately, in most divorces, you have a parenting schedule that's set out. If children are older, I usually say around, 15, 16. I have a 16-year-old. It's very hard to tell her to do anything. So usually when children get a little bit older, they get to sort of make their decisions, but you don't want to put them in that position. I think it's very important that they don't feel like they're picking one parent over the other. And so that's why we do parenting agreements. And we say, for the most part, stick to the parenting agreement.
Yeah, and you being a divorce lawyer, you see this. You see this head on. You see it from a different perspective, saying, you know what works and what doesn't. With those don'ts, you have the do's. You just made mention of the parent access to a schedule and make sure that it's clear. Where do people veer off on that? When does that happen, when that schedule's not followed?
So usually exactly what you had just suggested. Very often you have a child who says, I don't want to go. And so the parents say, all right, you know what, you don't have to go. And that's just a terrible thing to do to your child. You're empowering your child and you're putting the other parent in this very difficult position, especially when they have a lot of family there. So it's really important to be communicating during the holidays. It's important to be on the same page.
All right. You do say stay away from social media. It makes sense if you're like single and that sort of thing. Divorce, is it harder?
Yeah, so I generally during divorce, I say stay away from social media at all times. However, definitely during the holidays, people are drinking a little more on the holidays, work may be slower. It's very easy to sit and scroll and see what everybody else is doing, but don't sit and don't start bashing your ex and don't, play the I'm by myself game on social media because again, your children could always see it. And it's just, stay away from social media.
Yeah,
that's my big rule in general.
I think you're 100% right. And on the other side of that, too, you want to make it look like your holiday, you're doing fine and you're doing great and you overdo it just like you do with the spending, but you want to show on social media you're doing so great and your kids are going, no, this is not really what it's like. And you're not showing your true self. So I can see how that comes out. That's great advice. And finally, we're at Christmas, the holidays, New Year's is part of the new holiday. in the season at least. Make it yourself new. How do you do that with really a lot of conviction?
So I think it is really, really important to start afresh. New year, new beginning, New Year's resolutions, just really kind of say, what do I want this year to look like? We know what happened last year. And if that isn't something you want to repeat, then let's think about all sorts of new things we want to do to better ourselves, put yourself in a better position. And, look, divorce only lasts so long, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to start your life fresh.
You're 100% right. And you want to make sure that the kids are taken care of and they're seeing you. They're going to become better adjusted. Jacqueline, thank you so much. Great do's and don'ts there. And if you actually want to get a copy of Jacqueline's book, it's called The New Rules of Divorce. You can go on Amazon and check that out there, or just check out her website, which is nycdivorcelawyer.com. Jacqueline Newman, thank you so much. The 12 secrets to protecting your wealth, health, and your happiness. All of that you found out right here on Daily Flash. We got more coming up.